For 100 years, and hundreds more, no matter where we are, we will always be backing Burgh.
So our journey through rugby in Musselburgh begins here at Newfield, the Loreto School playing fields. There's a report in the Loretonian, the paper of Loreto School, that rugby was played here as early as February 1880, where they played a game against Royal High School. In the years from 1880 up to before the Great War, rugby in Musselburgh was being played by the sons of influential and wealthy individuals who stayed in this part of the town. Very important to stress that this was the Musselburgh part of the town, even though these pitches are technically in Fisher Row. After the Great War, there was a great thirst for outdoor recreation in Musselburgh. On that front, Provost Mitchell gathered a group of influential citizens and like-minded individuals with the intention of forming the Musselburgh Sports Club in April 1920. We're very fortunate here at Musselburgh to have found the original minute book of the Musselburgh Sports Club, where in April 1920, Provost Mitchell, along with John Young and 5 others, met to discuss the formation of the club. Amongst those was P.E.C. Honeyman, who was later to go on to become the first president of the club. Turning the page, we reach a meeting on the 15th of February 1921, and under item C we see that the committee considered an application for the forming of a rugby section, and this was indeed sanctioned. So Musselburgh Rugby Football Club was born. So we now have the club formed, but we had the challenge of where would we play and what would we play in. The committee at the time decided that they would try and find a suitable area where all the sports could be played. It did, however, take some time. So in the year 1921, only a few friendlies were played. So our earliest recorded match is an away fixture against the Royal College of Surgeons on the 2nd of November 1921, a match won by Musselburgh 9-3. The first captain of the club was W.B. Shorthouse, known as Tilly.
He always played in the front row and was a good motivator. He never missed a training session and encouraged others to do the same. He set a fine example.
After prolonged negotiations, the Earl of Weems entered into an agreement with the Musselburgh Sports Club to lease 7 acres of land at Shire Hog, Musselburgh. The club had by now applied to join the Edinburgh and District Junior League, So to get ready for the 1922 season, the pitch at Shire Hog had to be created. It had to be fenced off, and amazingly, because it was so remote, a bridge had to be built. Well, we've taken a walk up through Monton Hall Golf Club down to the River Esk, and I think this brings back some memories for you, George.
It does that. We used to run down the Red Brae and come right along here across the wooden bridge into this side.
And that's the foundations
And that's
across
the
there?
foundation of the bridge there. Yeah.
My goodness,
Yeah.
I would never have known that. The pitch was in a rough and ready state and was in no condition to be played upon. So the grammar school pupils were engaged to clear the stones that were present. And this was all accomplished for the start of the 1922-23 season. With John Young at the helm, the decision was made to build a pavilion. This would be at the magnificent cost of £40. The basic construction was a wooden shed, and outside there was a bath. The bath itself had no mains supply, so a bucket line had to be formed to transport water from the River Esk to the tank. Well, George, we made it from the Esk to where the pitch was.
Yeah.
What's your recollection of how the pitch ran?
My recollection is the pitch ran from west to east. Looking at, as we're looking, it ran right down that route.
Down that way.
Yeah, with the Nissen hut on the other side of the pitch.
There was only a little Nissen hut
Yeah, it was rounded like
in your
time.
day. Yeah, but in the early days, of course, they talked about a pavilion, which would be on this side of the pitch, I
Yeah.
would imagine,
Yeah.
because they had to run a bucket line to get the bath filled up.
Yeah.
So I think in the early days we can say the pioneers of the rugby club certainly put the work in to get the club started.
They certainly did.
They certainly did. And of course they shared this with the other sports
Yeah.
back then. There was a running track, with football, there was a ladies' golf section, and of course a cricket square.
And
Whilst there's no team photograph from 1922-23, there are records that show in that season the club played 20 games, won 14 and lost only 6. The Musselburgh Sports Club itself was parochial in its attitudes, and only people that lived in Musselburgh were allowed to be a member of the sports club. There is a record in 1924 of a match between a rugby team from Musselburgh and Fisher Row being the opponents. Today, of course, we are all one, Musselburgh and Fisher Row. Unfortunately, in 1925, the pavilion itself was vandalised and had to be razed to the ground. A new pavilion was created. However, in 1926, the strong gales actually blew that one away as well. Unfortunately, they also damaged the bridge. In 1927, a new pavilion was erected of more sturdy nature, and the bridge was improved with steel cabling to replace the wooden structure that was there before. The steel, of course, coming from Brunton's wire mill. As we approach the 1930s, a young man comes on the scene by the name of Bill Caird. Bill would be an influential character over the next 25 years in Musselburgh's development. Bill was supported in his efforts by quite a few regular performers in the team, none more so than Alec Baxter, who also captained this side during the 30s. Fixture cards had been produced as early as 1926. Fixture cards continued to be produced right up until the modern digital age. During the 30s, the rugby club continued to thrive, with membership increasing. Unfortunately, the other clubs that had been created as part of the Musselburgh Sports Clubs, namely football, athletics, cricket and golf, were all going their own separate ways. So by 1938, all these sections had faded away, and the decision was taken to rename Musselburgh Sports Club Musselburgh Rugby Club in its entirety. In 1938, the first Musselburgh Sevens were run, and the winners were Royal High. Unfortunately now, of course, the outbreak of World War II brought a halt to all rugby of an official nature. However, during the war years, Under the leadership of George Clark and the captaincy of Alex Caird, games were continuing to be played, so Musselburgh Rugby Club continued to be in existence. After the war had ended in 1945, rugby returned to Shire Hawk, and the team continued to play in the Edinburgh and District Junior League. However, in 1946, the club celebrated its semi-jubilee by playing a game against the mighty Hoyk at Shire Hawk, a game which we won 8-6.
Eric, what's your recollections of that semi-jubilee game against Hoyk?
Oh, I remember that well. We played at Shire Hawk, of course.
Yes.
So a shed that passed as a changing room. Bill Caird had got me a leave from Glen Cross to come and play in it. I remember all the team and coming down. I think it was great. It was a Saturday game, and it was a close game. It was 8-6 we won.
That's right.
I can't remember how we made that, but I suspect it was a converted try and a penalty that
yes,
we had.
I think that's right.
Like 6 points came from in that sense. But I remember it was a very good Hoyk team, by the way. We shouldn't underestimate them because they had some cracking players in it.
It says in the programme that you scored a conversion. Would that be right? Did you take the kicks for goal?
Well, sometimes I used to do that. I did that. At times I've forgotten that.
Yeah.
I wasn't a regular kicker. It was probably Alaric Monson. But that would be right. That'd be right.
In those post-war years, the team continued to play at Shire Hawk, but they were ambitious back then, and Bill Caird to the fore as always. In 1948, the club applied for full membership of the Scottish Rugby Union, proposed by Melrose and seconded by Stewart's Rugby Club. In May 1948, the announcement was made that the club had been granted entry into the Scottish Rugby Union, the 56th club in Scotland. On the playing front, the years 46 to 51 were notable for the club's performances in sevens. They actually won the Murrayfield Sevens in 1949 in front of 10,000 spectators. In the team that very day was a young A.R. Smith who would become even more influential over the next 50 years.
Oh, Ramsey was excellent. Ramsey was a good rugby tactician. Ramsey was like that. Ramsey could read a game and he could control it. He saw it. He was a good rugby brain. Played for years, and also he was an excellent scrum half. I knew Ramsey well because we'd been in the Scouts together, and I remember him at school too. I was captain of the school rugby team 1944-45. Ramsey was the scrum half then. I think he was 1 or 2 classes below me. But Ramsey was one of these people like Bill Caird that the rugby club owes its continual being to. They were the links right through. And people like Ramsey kept clubs going. A good player and a good rugby thinker.
We made our way up to Inverness Cemetery to this grave here, which unfortunately records the death of John Stewart, who was a result of an injury playing rugby football, who died on the 6th of December 1948. John was a player for the Firsts who, after a game in Glasgow and suffering a neck injury, went home, but unfortunately got worse over the next couple of days, and unfortunately, as we can see, passed away. The club did its best at the time to support the family, even holding a game against the Optimists on New Year's Day 1949. As far as we are aware, this is the only death of a player in the 100 years of Musselburgh Rugby Club.
And I just heard about it that Saturday night that John Stewart had broken his neck. An absolute freak accident, because his father had died too in an accident, I think. And I'd always felt sorry for Bill Caird having to go back that Saturday night and tell Mrs. Stewart about her son.
Around 1948, Bill Caird and the committee were looking at Shire Hawk saying this is not good enough, and were looking for options where to move to. Around that time, Inverness Paper Mill owned the community centre across here. They were finding the costs of running the community centre quite prohibitive and were looking to offload this. Bill Caird saw the opportunity for the club to use this area as their new pitch. At the time, of course, this pitch had been used for storing heavy goods vehicles during the war, and there were sleepers all over the place, big railway sleepers. Also, it was a storage spot for Esperanto grass, which the paper mill was using. So you can imagine the condition of this area was indeed very poor. However, undaunted, Bill and the committee negotiated a 20-year lease on the pitch from 1951 through to 1971, and the area that they got was from in front of the community centre there, all the way round to the area where the new clubhouse would be built eventually, back down to where the new road is, and out to the far reaches of the green area. They could not get a lease right up to the community centre, as access was required to allow the caravan club to use the area at the bottom of the pitch during the summer. The caravan club income actually was very valuable, as this helped pay for the upkeep of all the facilities. The community centre continued to be used for the wider community. However, Bill Caird again and the committee managed to negotiate that the club would have use of the changing rooms to the right hand side here on Tuesdays, Thursdays and every Saturday. Following the work in 1950, the club eventually moved to Stony Hill in 1951 and played its first match in September 1951 on the pitch versus the Edinburgh and District Union.
The first recollections of Stony Hill were in 1951, when the first 15 started to play up here. I was up for the first match of that era, and the great players at that time were the Taylor and Naylor, and Ramsay Smith as a young scrum half, and Thomas. They were the prominent three-quarters. The forwards, John Mooney, Jack Aiken, John Downey, were all stalwart forwards at that time.
1955 will be remembered as the year Sir A.B. King became our president. Sir Alexander was a well-known Glasgow cinema mogul and had many connections across the entertainment sector. Sir A.B. was not witnessed around the club very often. However, he did attend a few dinners, but most notably, the first round at every dinner was on Sir A.B. King. Sir A.B. King was president of the club from 1955 through to his death in 1973. An interesting feature of 1955 was that the club played a floodlit match at Old Meadowbank, believed to be the first floodlit rugby match in Scotland. In 1959, the pitches at Pinkie became available to the club. It was then decided that they would be used for our lower team fixtures. This allowed us to relinquish Shire Hawk, much to the delight of the golf club, after 40 years of valued service. As we enter the 1960s, Musselburgh was still competing in the unofficial championship, generally finishing around mid-table, and in 1960 we're actually 19th in that division.
And through my connections with the Borderers, I started playing with Musselburgh, where I met all the Musselburgh boys, good boys and bad boys. Bill Cranston, George Patterson, we all joined together on the first night's training.
I attended training at Musselburgh on the first night of the 1961 season, and it so happened that Len Pullman and George Patterson also attended for the first night, and we all went into the first team. We played for approximately 7 years, helping to keep Musselburgh in the unofficial championship. Not bad when all the Scottish players played
for their club side, and West of Scotland and Hawick had at least 4 Scottish players in their parks.
I remember playing against Hawick in the early 1960s, and they had more than half their team were internationalists, and the crowd were getting quite upset when Hawick didn't even manage to score a point till late in the second half. Better than that, though, was remembered against Pinkie against West of Scotland, who had at least 6 internationalists at the time, including 3 British Lions, Sandy Brown and Sandy Carmichael and the 2 Brown brothers. And we actually won that game 19-0, much to the consternation of their vaunted pack.
Through the 60s, we had some very good players. Stalwarts were Glenn Coleman and Rob Brown in the forwards. Ramsay Smith by this time and Dot Thomas were playing down the club in the seconds. They were 30ish, but they put in a lot of effort in bringing on young boys in the club.
In 60-61, I was made captain. Not the very best of seasons, I'm afraid. The previous season had been a very good season, and 2 or 3 of the best players had decided to hang up their boots. So the first part of the season I went round all the houses, knocking on doors, persuading, without success. I just hadn't a clue what a captain was supposed to do, except for winning the toss, deciding to play against the wind, which of course always dropped at half time. But I had read a book. A book. Danny Craven, who was the South African guru of that time, Danny Craven's book it was, and I had the great support of Thomas, who took the backs. I took the forwards, and we went along and we had quite a decent season, yes, until February, when Stewart's took 40 plus points off us. And you'll remember in those good old days, a try only scored 3 points.
Well, I joined the club in 1956, played for the 415, played a season and a half. In those days, if you went into the thirds, that was you destined to be in the thirds forevermore. So I jumped to the seconds, and then eventually ended up getting a game for the first 15 in 1958 against Trinity Accies, changed over in the community centre upstairs. And I was taken aback because the only person I ever spoke to was big Andrew Watson, a former stalwart the rugby club. I thought, this'll no do for me, you know. Anyway, in the second half of that season, I managed to force my way into the first, and from then on in, it's history. Played up until the 1972-73 season. Captained the side, luckily, twice. And we were a good side in these days. Detrimental to what others thought. And one of the sayings with the forwards was, if it moved, kick it. If it lay still, bury it. End of story. And as I say, we were called the donkeys in these days, and our main priority was give the ball back to the girls, as we spoke about, in the backs, so as they could score the tries. Often enough, we had to run back and retrieve the ball.
The Burgh boys.
The Burgh boys, the collars turned up, and they went off the field cleaner than what they went onto the field, some of them.
Well, you can't be when did you first play?
Well, I first joined the club in 58, 59, and my first game was a midweek game, a collection of seconds, thirds and fourths, and I had the misfortune of breaking my collarbone in the very first game, so I had a very good start to my career. Fortunately, that was about the worst injury I received. I was 61 when I first played for the first 15 against Royal High, a week before my 18th birthday. So, and I think it was against Graham's Law, who was a Scottish trialist at the time, that I played against my first game, so it was a rude introduction to first 15 rugby. The Co-Optimist game in '69, when the floodlights were opened, although Musselburgh had already played a floodlight game at Meadowbank in the early 50s, I think they were the first club in Scotland to play a floodlight game. It was a Friday night before the Welsh International at Murrayfield on the Saturday, so there was plenty of Welsh supporters there. A good money earner at the time.
Would that be Bill Kerr that was organising these sort of things?
Well, I would think so, yes, at that time, although I was only in my teens at the time.
Cam, you were one of the few members of the club to play over 3 generations.
That's right.
Tell us a bit about that.
There was 1 or 2 actually. My father and myself and Gavin, who's now in New Zealand. I think Jimmy Jimison and Ross's son were the other ones, with Duncan McMillan's family was the other ones that I know of.
Inevitably, my introduction to the club was through my father, who was by now committee man along with Bill Hogg to help with the first 15 at Shire Hawk by being ball boy, orange carrier and youngest supporter. This was no easy task, as the changing rooms were located in the grammar school, meaning carrying all the kit over Inverness Church steps and over the river. This was the beginning of the involvement with the club, where I went on to play for 13 years, between 1964 and 1977, and upon retirement went on to play an active role in the administration of the club for many years.
Also in 1960, we see the first arrival on the scene of D.M.G. Campbell. Davy was appointed chairperson of the Dances Arrangement Committee, otherwise the social convener, and he, along with Tommy Beaton, put a great deal of effort into this aspect of the club.
We had one game in Grangemouth, this was the seconds, and after the match we were all in the local pub with the opposition, and then we all got on the bus to go to Falkirk for the dancing. We had a good sing-song on the way to Falkirk. We got off the bus opposite the dance hall, got into the queue, waited till we got to the front, and then there was 2 bouncers on the door, and they said, "You're not getting in, you're all drunk." Now Ramsay Smith and Davy Campbell, who were never backwards at coming forward, went to the front to put our case forward that we weren't all drunk. This went on for about 10 minutes, and then 2 police cars and a Black Maria arrived. The bouncers said these 2 are the ringleaders, and Ramsay and Davy were marched into the back of the Black Maria, and that was the last we saw them. They were charged with disturbing the peace, spent the night in jail, had to make their own way back to Musselburgh on the Sunday morning. I'm sure their wives were well pleased with their excuses when they got home.
In 1958, Mrs. Cruden donated the Brunton Cup to be played for annually in our Sevens tournament. In the 60s, Ramsay Smith really took over the running of the club. Sir A.B. King was president only in name, and Ramsay and the rest of the committee, with the excellent help of Eric Anderson controlling the finances, were visionary in their approach to how Stonyhill should look. In the early days, they concentrated on raising enough funds towards building the clubhouse. However, an opportunity arose in the late 60s to install floodlights at Stonyhill. As we know, Musselburgh played one of the first ever floodlit games, and this really galvanised the committee into this modern approach. The Electricity Board had advised the committee that they could run a cable to the side of the pitch here for only £92, which was still a significant amount of money in those days. The switchgear would be stored in the community centre. Pylons were purchased at the cost of around £800. A trench was dug right across the park to the other side, around about the 22 here, to allow those pylons on the far side to be created as well. Floodlights were also placed on top of the community centre to allow full coverage of the pitch. Were you involved in the erection of the lights, Rob?
No, that was Jimmy Roberts was involved in that area.
And myself.
Aye.
Well, due to being in the post office and climbing poles,
right.
I was able to climb the pylons.
And if you asked Jimmy to do anything, he would do it anyway, didn't matter what.
After being asked to join the club with Eric Brown when I was an apprentice in Brunton's Windmill, I played for the Colts under Bill Hogg and Jimmy Jimison, great guys. I then moved on to the third, second and first. At that time we played, the first means that you had the opportunity to play against Scottish internationals, which was quite exciting for me.
In those days there were only two open senior clubs in the Edinburgh area. That was Edinburgh Wanderers and Musselburgh. The rest were all FP clubs. George Patterson was then captain of Musselburgh. Ken speckled figure. Being just out of uni and not having a lot of money, I used to travel to and from Musselburgh by bus, until another Ken speckled figure, Len Pullman, sold me an old banger. I wish I'd stayed on the buses. I was made captain for the 69-70 season and enjoyed every minute of it, particularly because there were no coaches in those days. I was fly half and Jimmy Roberry was scrum half, and if I say so myself, I think we made a pretty good partnership, and indeed today are friends on Facebook.
Well, here we are inside the main hall at the community centre. Hasn't changed much in the last 70 years. This would be used by the community, so the rugby club never had sole use of it. But over the years we've used it effectively. But I just really want to show you the main part of the day, which is the changing room complex. Follow me. And down and through the corridor into these magnificent changing facilities. We're going to go into the home changing room first. Here you can see the original coat hooks are still here. 15 players in here on a match day. A coach perhaps getting a stern wigging after the game. But on a training night, 20 to 30 people in here. But if you think that was tight, what about the away changing rooms? Follow me. It's a nice shade of pink now. It wasn't always pink. But I must say, 15 players in here, Musselburgh were getting an advantage. And if you thought the changing rooms were bad, what about this for showering facilities? 3 shower heads for 30 players. Cramping in, it was a real run to get in. You never knew when the hot water was going to run out. On a training night, 40 players perhaps at any given time trying to get in here. You can see why we needed to build our own changing rooms. Now having a pitch that was worthy of being played on, floodlit as well, Ramsay and his fellow committee members turned their attention to the building of the clubhouse. Funding was required. The club had £5,000 in the kitty and they approached the SRU for a grant. However, the SRU didn't offer a grant, but they offered a loan of £5,000. They also approached Ryborough's Brewery for funding on the premise that they would be able to supply the club with beer when it was built. Ryborough's provided a £1,000 grant towards the building. With £11,000 in the kitty, Harry Williams, a member of the club and an architect, drew up plans for the structure as we see it today. Tenders were invited and Dennis of Dalkeith were awarded the contract to build the clubhouse at around the £11,000 cost.
By the end of the 60s, we had enough money
to build the clubhouse with, shall we say, a lot of us agree that if the club got into debt, that we would be held responsible. I think I signed up for about £3,000 and I was earning about £1,500 a year at that time. But we got the clubhouse started with the help of a lot of volunteers, and we got a contractor to come in and set it up.
With the great help of Finlay Whittaker doing the electricals, and Ian Fairdew and a team of helpers doing the woodwork and the other elements of the internal design, the clubhouse was ready to open in October 1970.
I became well, when the clubhouse was getting built and we were all involved in it, I volunteered to get onto some committee and some just to do a bit. But I became the first bar convener and effectively chairman of the clubhouse. And that was a hard job, a very hard job, because I knew nothing about the booze business and running a club and running a bar and all that. I had to learn it all. I had to go to the police and speak with them, and I sought advice all over the place.
The official opening of the clubhouse was on the 6th of February 1971, performed by Mr. R. Wilson Shaw, President of the Scottish Rugby Union.
I can mind my first game against Musselburgh. It was 50 years ago. I was 18, and Musselburgh were the better side, but we got a draw in the end. Graham Hogg tried a drop goal, and we got a try in the corner, and I missed the kick to win it.
And they would have played all day. The referee would have let them go in until Hogg scored in the far corner, because we were beating them. Yeah. It was Derek Gray who scored in the corner at the far side. It was wild that day.
My first game was against Leith Accies at the old Meadowbank Stadium. I can't remember the score, but the match was memorable for me because I met my long-term best friend, Peter Cassidy, and Bill Hogg, the bagman selector. Bill's contribution to the club over many years was recognised by the dedication of the Bill Hogg Room in the clubhouse. Being a member of the club has for me been like being part of an extended family where no one is excluded and friendships have been made and endured for over 50 years. I would hope that our club would remain true to its long-held ethos of providing rugby in the community for all ages, abilities and genders in a competitive, safe and friendly environment. Adhering to these principles will, I am sure, deliver the success we have on the pitch into our next century.
When you do something really important in the club, the members sometimes gather together and say, let's name something in that person's name. Well, here we have the Bill Hogg Room, named after Bill Hogg, who did so much work running the force for over 25 years. Following us around in the clubhouse, what do we have here but the Ian Dewar Bar? Father Dewar, of course, built most of the internals of this club, and this bar has been here since 1970, still as strong as it was when it was first put in. And the other major player in the club honoured, none other than Ramsay Smith. Ramsay, of course, gave over 50 years service to the club, and this lounge was named after he passed away in 2008. In 1973, an official league structure was introduced in Scotland by the SRU, and Musselburgh were placed into Division 3. Peter Cassidy was captain during this year. However, this was not a season to remember for the club, and they were relegated to the 4th Division, losing all their games that year. Jim Drummond was appointed captain the following season.
My name's Jim Drummond. I was captain of the club in season 74-75. I played under some really inspiring captains: Jack Stewart, Dot Thomas, Rob Brown, Raymond Clark. I've played with some truly outstanding players: Ramsay Smith, George Patterson, Donny MacDonald, Clifford Livingston.
the club suffered another relegation to Division 5. Whilst 1974-75 may not have been a good year for the first 15, a key moment in Musselburgh's development was the creation of a Colts team.
Then I discovered that the whole of the Borders had a Colts team. So I proposed that we emulate Circuit Youth Club.
Chris Barclay-Smith, president at the AGM of 1976, addressed the members to establish what path they would like the club to follow. This led to the appointment of Alex Stewart as coach.
I started the coaching, in the mid-70s when we had moved down a couple of divisions from the 3rd to the 5th division of the Scottish National Leagues, of which there were 6 divisions. And we had a fairly young team. I remember the stalwart we had left from the earlier strong Musselburgh teams who had mainly been retiring and moving away to other areas. So the start of the new leagues was not a good time for Musselburgh. Rob Brown played on and he was tremendous help to me as a coach at the time. The rest of the team were pretty inexperienced and young folk actually, and we struggled that first year despite working very, very hard throughout the season, and we just managed to stay in the 5th division. Thereafter we managed to, I remember thinking we would have to do a different type of work and really sort ourselves out a bit more and be a bit more streetwise, because we were playing teams that were quite experienced and some good players in them that had been denied top level rugby up to that stage because of the structure in Scotland, and they were quite keen to show what they could do against teams like Musselburgh, who were considered a big team.
Raymond Clark was captain.
Raymond Clark speaking. And in the season 76-77, we managed to gain promotion as undefeated champions. I was privileged to be captain that year, the following year, and in the season 83-84.
Over the years, there have been many highlights on the playing side, which I remember fondly, but for me the most significant one, far from the most high-profile game that Musselburgh has ever played in, but it was a game which epitomised the change in direction of the club, from one in free fall down the leagues to one hungry for success and on the way back up. The game was against Carter Queen's Park. We had to win to go undefeated and win the league and promotion. We managed a fine victory, and in doing so lit the touch paper for our recovery and descent back up the leagues. The dedication of that particular team was also shown by the fact that 2 of the players should have been in Wales at a teammate's wedding, but chose to play for the club at this important game, and were represented in Wales by their wives. Also in that game was a 3rd player who got married the day before and postponed his honeymoon so that he could play in the game.
In the early 1980s, Musselburgh competed in the 2nd or 3rd divisions of the Scottish Leagues.
I was lucky enough to have 3 stints as a captain at Musselburgh. The first was to captain the Colts side, and then captaining the club in the 80-81 and the 87-88 seasons.
Firstly, I'd like to say how honoured and flattered I am that the club have gone to all this big trouble to celebrate the 40th anniversary of my captaincy. I was captain season 81. We'd just been promoted from the 3rd division to the 2nd division, so it's the highest the club had been. And we were obviously a wee bit apprehensive how well we'd do there, but we held our own, did reasonably well there. But probably the best success we had was going down to Milltown to play Langham. Langham had never lost a 2nd division game at home, and we went down there and thrashed them 4-0.
Hello, my name's Neil Smith. I captained the Musselburgh Rugby Club in season 1982-83.
I'd like to take this opportunity of passing on my congratulations to the club in its centenary year.
Over the years, Musselburgh has produced a good number of players who have gone on to win representative honours.
So far as I'm concerned, I can just put it down to two of the best years of my life. Coming down from the north of Scotland to join a great bunch of guys in the under-18s, the Stonyhill Stunners, of course. 5 of us in the Edinburgh under-18s, 2 of us in the national, and then 2 of us going on to under-21s. You know, we had a really good bunch of boys, and we knocked way above our weight.
In 1983, Duncan Macmillan was elected president of the club.
Well, I wasn't even on committee. We were in Division 2 and we got dropped to Division 3, and the club was at an all-time low, seriously all-time low. And Chris Barclay-Smith had been out as president and came back in, but he'd had enough. So I was approached and asked to be president, but I wasn't sure about it because, as I say, I wasn't even on committee. I wasn't involved in that, the administration of the club. So eventually I decided I would have a go at it, and that's when I spoke with Donald and Derek, Donald and Raymond, about becoming captain. I wanted to establish captains rather than have me coming in as a rookie. And as I say, they did it. And Raymond became captain and Donald became vice captain. And that pulled the team together. 2 guys with reasonable authority at captain level. And we did well that season. In fact, we were 3rd in the league.
In the early 80s, the club had been moving up the leagues, and it was felt as though changing across in the community centre was not really conducive with a club going places. Plans were therefore drawn up for the building of a changing facility. John Spalding was a key character in the design and build of this structure, and in 1983 it was ready for use.
The whole thing started off by, well, as you know, we always used to change in the community centre, and unless you were off quick the pitch after a training session, you got a cold shower. And I always remember Robbie Burrows seemed to be running his fastest to get from the pitch to the changing rooms. So we decided that enough was enough. We couldn't spend money on the community centre because it wasn't ours, so we decided we'd try and progress, building an extension on the other side beside the clubhouse. And we also went out to the members to try and get some interest-free loans. So once we had got all that in place, we felt we could go. So I then prepared drawings for the extension, sort of started to design it. And there was sort of 3 remits in that, or maybe 4. First one was it had to be structurally sound. So I got Stuart Finlay to look over my drawings and just put some structural element on it. Second one was we had to have loads of hot water. So I got Bill Dosser, who was a non-playing member. Gary Dosser was his wee brother, who did play. He was a mechanical engineer, and he designed, told us to use this Hamworthy. It's a huge, big instant water heater. So as long as you've got the hot water tap on, you get hot water, which seemed to be perfect for what we needed. So that was that. The next thing was we had unbreakable glass in the small windows, more for the players in the changing room breaking the windows rather than vandals outside breaking them. And the last thing was the home changing room had to be bigger than the away changing room for psychological reasons. So having got all that sorted out, I got the plans ready, submitted building warrant and planning, and without really much bother, we got through all that.
So here we are entering the changing rooms, which have been up since 1983, obviously. Haven't changed much in all this time, but certainly you're going to see a big improvement to what we had at the community centre, and you can imagine why they were built in the first place. So here we have the first one. We're continuing the theme of naming doors and naming rooms. So this is named after Alec Baxter, a very important individual back in the 30s, And right the way through to when even I joined the club, he was here doing the Colts in 1976. So there we are. So in we go to the home changing room. And as you can see, a lot more space than we had in the community centre. I was fortunate enough to be captain in 1984-85, which was the first season that these changing rooms were in operation. We sort of settled into a routine in here. So down in this corner here, you can imagine the strips were all laid up, and we started 1, 2, 3. So the front row always were in this area. And it was that way all the way through my playing days. I don't know what it is these days, but they were always in here. And then you would move round here up to number 8. So you'd have the talented people in this area, the back 5. And then round here you'd have the girls. Oh, sorry, the backs. The backs would be here, noisy and chattering away. And then round to here with the substitutes. So this was really good, and in that season, our first full season of using the changing rooms, we won every home league game. So obviously galvanised us into great deeds. So moving on through from the home changing room, we come to the shower room. Now, after 3 heads, we now have 9 heads of showers. And as you can see here, the visitors' changing room is named after Alistair Tarbert, another great servant of the club. Even now the away changing room, while it's not as spacious as the home changing room, gives plenty of room for everybody to change in. You see there's a room for the referees. It's a very small room, and as I say, this will all be improved as we go along. Into this area, and in here, you can imagine this will be set up as the doctors in the physio room, ready for treating people should they unfortunately be injured. So the main reason I wanted to bring you into this area, which not many people would really want to see, is that here we have another door with a name on it. Derek's WC. Derek Watson, final back row player for our team, spent most of his pre-game in this cubicle, and as such, this was named in his honour.
Time I got an anonymous report from Derek Watson. It was about how before every game he used to always have to go to the toilet, and he used to sit there in Hoyks, changing rooms, Gala, Harriet's, and think of all the famous bums that had sat down in the seat that played rugby, which was an inspiration to him. So I went away and got a little sign made up, Derek's WC, and screwed it onto one of the doors at the toilets. Now on the actual night of the President's 15, I've got 2 recollections. One is, I remember I was on crutches because I had just had my knee, my cartilage taken out of my knee, having played at Pinkie, on my comeback for the Force, having just broken my collarbone 4 games before it. So I broke my collarbone, played about 4 games, and so my wife wasn't too pleased with me and my boss wasn't too pleased with me, so that was my first recollection. My second recollection is, halfway through the night after the game and all that, which all went very well, the President's captain came up to me and says, "Are you the guy that designed this clubhouse?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "There's not a mirror in the away changing rooms." I thought, well, nobody's perfect. So that was basically how it all went.
So we'd gone from losing all our important games to winning the vast majority of our important games, and that was a psychological lift. So we went forward the following year, they went forward as a winning team, and the following year they were third again. You know, after they'd been first, so they became first, got promoted to Division 2, and they went forward in Division 2 and they were third in the league again, which again suited me because here we were.
Hi, I'm Robert Burrows and was fortunate to be captain of the club in 1985 to 86. I wish the club every success for the future.
1987 would prove to be the club's finest year. A win against Edinburgh Wanderers on the 28th of February would be enough for the club to be promoted to the top division for the first ever time.
back in the Wanderers side, bubbling about, and Andy McLeod goes piling on there, did well. Coming back, well done. That's beautiful lead back there. Wee dummy coming round, goes cutting through the gap. It's a great run here now. Barney, you're going the wrong way, son. Yes, that's a lovely score. Well done. I thought he'd gone the wrong way there. I couldn't quite see if they were going to manage to link. Malcolm Smith was the man who took the final pass and nipped in.
My best memory of that season was at the final whistle of the Edinburgh Wanderers game, and we knew we were promoted to Division 1. And almost immediately the celebrations started and went on for quite a long time.
Aside from the league, the club also enjoyed success on the Sevens circuit. Whilst winning such tournaments as Peebles and Walkerburn, there was no sign of a victory in our own tournament. The last victory there had been in 1957. That all changed in 1987.
Of all my fond memories at the club, one of the fondest would be the time I was a member of the team that managed to win the Brunton Cup and bring Musselburgh's own Sevens tournament trophy back to the club for the first time in 30 years.
Clifford, they're pushing up round to Donald, who's looping across to Kevin. Nicely done. They're pushing across to defence. Kevin outside him, comes away this way, right through the middle, so in he goes. Lads catching him. I think a wee bit twist and turning, hopefully. No. Yes, he'll be getting the score for that. He should get the score for that, actually.
My personal highlights were getting promoted to Division 1 and playing in Division 1 and being in the Musselburgh 7 that won its own tournament in 1987 for the first time in 30 years.
Well done, here he comes. In you go. Well done, good score, simple, worked well.
That one almost meant more to me than getting promoted to First Division, actually, because we've been played so many times in our own sevens and never won it. It's a great day.
And Drew won't want to run that distance. Barney won't to run? No, Derek says I'll run myself. No, I can't catch him. Well done, Derek. That's him knackered for the day, but nice score.
I mean, the sevens, when we started playing, I enjoyed it. Well, a lot of folks say I probably played better sevens than 15s at the time. I enjoyed it because we had a genuine mix, the experienced boys that were good sevens players. And we could mix and match, put the pig in and other boys in. And I was fortunate I could go through, because then I come on to play with Kenny Patterson, what do you call him, with Stuart Campbell. And it went on doing the boys, Alan Duncan. Musselburgh produced good sevens. And
The forward's just in there, Derek has it, lays it back, Drew takes it high. Yeah, nice wee score on here, should be able to nip in, get out to Kevin. Nice score. Well done. To Barney, turns to the narrow side, shimmies about, out to Andy McLeod, picks up nicely off his toes, and away he goes. Possibly go the whole length there. Okay, he's in quite easily. Well covered with Portobello, but the boys are going. He's not offside there, unfortunately. Drew Johnston goes in again to Donald, out to Barney. Surely they get in here. Neil goes in, well done. I'll put that down to Drew Johnston again. By God, he did a tremendous dive and secured that ball. It's steady, Donald. I put it away. That's a lad. Well done. Must be about time up, I think. Yes, it is time up, so that's it. It's all over. The boys have done it. 20 points to 8. 5 tries to 2, and you can't take it away from that.
Can you remember running out for our own sevens? That the banking was full. There was people right round the pitch. I mean, it was a fantastic day.
The first ever top flight campaign kicked off against Stuart's Melville at Stony Hill.
I remember it as being, well, it was the opening match of the season, and the previous season we'd done pretty well. We ended up third, I think, Jim. Hoyt won it, and we nearly lost to Heriots, and I think Heriots got second. Anyway, We finished third, and you guys.
Burgh were fourth. Sorry.
Was it fourth in the end?
Burgh were fourth.
Right.
Can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Musselburgh had just been promoted, hadn't they? And so it was the opening match of the season at Stony Hill, and so we were, reasonably confident, having had a good season the season before, and Barney had whipped us up, meeting at his house beforehand. So yeah, we were quite well. We had a bit of a blow. Dougie Wiley couldn't play at standoff, I remember, and so the boy Dunn played, didn't he, Jim? The Malcolm Dunn.
Alistair Dunn.
Aye. And anyway, Christ, we scraped a draw in the end. We hung on there.
Neil Meldrum out into wing. I see Stuart Higginbottom putting him inside centre, which surprises me a little. Well done, Donald. A good long ball. He's an injured man outside you, of course. Oh. Yes, he's in. Well done. Lovely score. Lovely score by Neil Meldrum coming up on the outside.
Your life in the end, I think. In fact, Donald, I think did you convert, or did you miss a conversion from the touchline to win?
From the touchline to draw it. Yeah.
I think I kicked it from the touchline.
Kicked it to draw. Yeah, that's it.
Those were the days as well.
To draw. Yeah.
We didn't have kicking tees, and Stony Hill, the grass was about 1.5 feet long. So that was deliberate to stop your free-flowing running game at Stumel, you see. This anyway, I have seen the video, actually, and you can only see the top half of the ball when I'm trying to kick the conversion.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah. And I'll be honest that our touch judge, Ross Jimison, on the day, he always kind of recalls a story.
Put his flag up.
You guys are all behind the post and I'm taking the conversion. And the chat was basically, well, it's almost on the touchline. It's on his wrong side. He'll probably miss it.
Oh, well done. What a lovely kick.
And then all you heard was one of your guys going, the wee bastards kicked it.
Well done. That's a great play.
A win against Kilmarnock followed, with a narrow loss to Burgh and a great win at home versus West of Scotland. The team was off to a good start.
I was trying to remember, was it mid-80s you were in the first division, was that right?
Yeah, played at Golden Acre in the league match.
88.
That's the one, Derek, where Kenny kicked Ryan Sullivan.
Kicked on him.
Quite great.
I've gone through this 100 times, Donald. I think one of the guy who's filming for Musselburgh shouts, or the referee is saying, because Derek Watson apparently swung a punch at me, you see, and the referee pulled Derek aside and penalised him. And the biased Musselburgh commentator on the camera is saying, and Derek Watson's getting explained that had he not done that, the penalty would have been for Musselburgh. But that's nonsense, because the referee never blew the whistle and pointed to Musselburgh first and then reversed it to Herriot. He pointed it straight to Herriot. So it's just that thuggish play of that back go forward. Derek Watson.
Protest too much here, I think.
That video you were talking about, Kenny, I'm actually accrediting myself with starting the move, because just after that penalty, we got the ball back and we went sort of half the length of the pitch and scored. And it all started off with our commentator saying, Herriot's won the ball back. Oh, and Donald's missed that tackle. But we went on to score, so I'm claiming credit for starting the move.
Lost and want it, but it'll suit us. Derek has the ball, and Val has it, clears it. Now could do to get something here. Well done, Neil. Right through, needs somebody outside him.
Despite some close matches, the team only managed one more victory against Ayr. However, a big win against Watsonians on the final day could be enough to stay up.
Start with that 1987-88 game. What do you remember of that game, boys?
My last game for Sonians. It was it must have been spring, well, probably sort of March time, 88. We must have played a game there, and I think because Derek keeps reminding me, I think I kicked a penalty from about 40 odd yards, and it put Musselburgh back down into the second division, I think.
Is that right?
The one thing you've missed there, Ewan, is the report in the paper. I think I hunted out all the old stuff from up in the attic, and it said a last-minute penalty from Ewan Kennedy went in off the upright to give the visitors an undeserved victory.
Well, I didn't realise that. But, I just remember Derek's reminded me about it every time we've tied up ever since. That it was virtually the last kick of the game, and it was my last kick for Watsonians, my last game for Watsonians. I didn't know it at the time, but my wife obviously had a car accident not long after that, and it kind of hastened my early departure from Mireside. So
I remember all about that game.
You'd probably been out the night before,
You and I can only think that I can't have been playing in that game because if it was in March '88, I know I'd started a job down in London in that January, and secondly, surely I would have been kicking, and I would have, and I wouldn't have needed to use one of the posts to get the ball over the bar.
My most embarrassing Watsonian experience was here as captain. To be fair, Watsonians were really good. Even when we were down in the 5th division, we used to always play in friendlies. And here I was captain in the 2nd division, but we played Watsonians under the lights.
Yeah, that was always the traditional fixture, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the lights out.
I don't think you were playing Scott. I think you were still in Newcastle then, but you and David Johnston, Gavin, Fobo, Kenny Johnson, pretty good backline. I think I was still putting my gum shield in when Ryan Robertson was scoring in the corner. He scored 4 tries that night. We're 40-0 down at half time. I thought, Jesus. I think it was about 60-0 in the end. It was one of my most embarrassing rugby experiences. Awful.
How innovative we were, Scott. We had floodlights before we had a clubhouse.
Well, I know that. No, I was going to say traditionally, Watsonians always used to have a fixture about the turn of the year under the floodlights. It was always a good welcome. The pitch was always in pretty good nick as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. It wasn't always the case. It was called Stony Hill for a reason. It was an absolute disaster of a place when we first moved there in the 50s.
Right.
It was terrible, but we did a lot of work on it over the years. I think it's pretty decent, actually. It's a good place to play rugby.
It used to be an absolute nightmare at the end of the season with the Sevens tournament.
Dust Bowl Sevens.
Oh, honestly, you couldn't even get the ball in the ground to have a kick at goal.
It was that hard, was it?
Absolute nightmare. You played sevens
before kicking tees as well, right?
Yeah, you played sevens with knee bandages on, and it was only to stop taking the skin off your knees, etc. When you pretended you were trying to make a tackle. You know that one where you dive and try to flick the heel or something like that. I know.
What was Musselburgh's reputation like when they first went up to the 1st division, guys? Did you get? I mean, I think we were trying to play a really fast flowing game of rugby because our forwards were tiny for starters. But would we played Watsonians twice? That was it only play each team once at that stage.
Only the once.
Only the once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I can back you up on that one before these guys get a chance to answer. I remember going down to Mansfield Park to play Hoyk, and the very first line out, Drew, our current president, was our ace in the pack, our biggest forward, our tallest man at 6'2", and we stood at the first line out, and their entire back five in their pack dwarfed Drew, and I just thought to myself, how the are we going to win a line out all game? I mean, it's virtually impossible. But to be fair, the coach at the time did kind of work our game a bit round the way Stu Mel used to do it, shortened lineouts, quick lineouts. Everything was just, rather than slow it down and set piece and standard play, we tried to mix it up, and we got away with it a lot of the time.
What was it like, guys? Because you obviously got promoted into the top division. You said you had a light pack, you did throw the ball around, and what was the old coach called? Was it Ray? Russell.
Scott, we played it a bit like Watsonians, to be honest with you. I remember Special Use always had a great backline and kind of go beat up front when you went down the thing with but yourself, David Johnston. And Derek talked about that game. I was a young boy. I went up and watched David Johnston. I thought he was the most elegant runner you'd ever see running with a ball. He just never seemed to do anything, but he'd glide by folk at just the ease. So we tried quick and sharp. But as soon as the heavy weather come in, that was it. It was they kind of knew how to muscle us, and it become harder and harder.
It didn't help, Clifford, that I think Russell always tells the story that he videoed us against somebody, and did Barney not ask to see the video or something after we'd played? And he
Barney
showed
gave it to
Barney the
Burgh.
video, and Barney handed the video to Burgh, and they sat down, had a look at it, and said, "Screw them up front, boys."
What was the story about? What was the story behind the kicking competition? I remember that.
You want the stats? I've got that. By the way, just
what are the stats?
We were raising
This
money
way,
for Canada.
He's got his stats here. Attempts on the night: Hastings 52, 14 successful, 26%. I think you ought to start apologising to Mr. Ewan there, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
My attempt for 59, 14, 23%. But the boy writes in this, the best thing of the night is Livingston, Clifford kicked a penalty from the halfway line. Hastings couldn't do it. Ewan, you kicked one for the halfway line, son. Tell him.
I did. Yeah, you're right. You couldn't
that?
manage it at Stony Hill, but you could manage it at my other side, Gavin.
Can you remind me, was this not like a Monday night? Was it not just
it was
absolutely
raising money for
rain,
Canada,
like a
Gavin.
gale, and it was, you know, probably leading into an international, and it was the
Oh,
last.
you're right.
Here we
that
go.
nonsense.
This is like chapter 1 of the Gavin Hastings excuse book.
You're probably right, Gav, because Donald organised it. It was meant to be Chick and you were meant to be coming up. And Chick obviously looked at his window and says, "I'm not going." Donald says, "You have to play Gav tonight." But it was a hellish night, it was. It was a gale.
And we took 50 odd kicks, did we?
50 odd kicks each.
I don't ever remember kicking as many goals as that in a practice session. So there must have, I think it was obviously, it must have been timed, and we were desperate to get into the clubhouse as quickly as possible or something like that.
I love the way that Cliff had all those stats stuffed under his bed. Eh?
I tell you, in this day and age, though, in this pro era, boys, with stats like that, you know, Ewan would have been kicking the following week.
Yeah.
Is it you that organised that kicking thing, Donald?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody said that, I think it happened at some other club, and we were trying to raise funds. As Drew said, we were raising funds to tour Canada. So I had asked Chick Chalmers and Gav if they would come down, you know, and Gavin was the only one to turn up.
I see. Turn up. I turn up. That's one thing. I might not be very good, but at least I turn up.
1992 saw a highlight for the club, where 59 members toured Canada.
Well taken, Neil Smith. The boys taking this game serious. It's the game against Ottawa Scottish, which is going out on cable TV. There's a goal in all days.
Hello to you all at the Mighty Burgh. My name's Alec McCall, also affectionately known by some of my ex-clubmates as Sandy, much to my annoyance over the years. I was club captain at Musselburgh between the seasons 91 to 93, and I've got to say the highlight in my time at Musselburgh over the many seasons I was there would be the 92-93 season, which just started with our pre-season tour to Canada, which was a tremendous success both on and off the field and prepared us for a great season ahead in the leagues. Off field, I've got to say that the time over there, the stories, the adventures, the memories that we made, and also the days whitewater rafting were unbelievable and will live with me forever. The 92-93 season itself, great season, some great rugby.
Winner takes all was the name of the game as Musselburgh played Stuart's Melville at Inverleith.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that morning actually, because BBC Radio Scotland did a programme, a guy called Ian Anderson who did a bit of commentary work I think for STV as well. He had a morning rugby show, so Alec and myself were called into the BBC offices in I think it was George Street in Edinburgh, or George Street it was. So they got us on quite early. I think we had to be there for 9 o'clock in the morning, so I had to get my breakfast early before the big match. And Alec and I were interviewed, and I do remember the guy Ian Anderson asking who he thought from the Stu Mill side would they should maybe watch out for. And I said there was a young guy at number 10 called Wiley who who may be worth having a look at. But no, in all seriousness, it was actually quite a nice way to start the day, and I suppose in a way it got us both pretty much focused, so. I managed to sneak over for the try towards the end at Seal Victory, and it was very much relief for us. Although I don't know if we deserved it particularly on the day, and I'm not just saying that, but so it was very much a sense of relief from our side at Stu Mill anyway. Yeah.
We did not know at the time that it would be another long wait before top-flight rugby was on the minds of the borough. On the pitch, Musselburgh continued to maintain their position, fluctuating between the second and third tiers for the next 15 years.
Hi, I'm Andy McLeod. I was captain last century, about 1994. I'd like to wish Musselburgh Rugby Club a happy 100th birthday.
Hello folks, I'm John Hawkins. I had the good fortune of being captain of the club from 1995 to 1997. And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to catch up with you all remotely and to wish you and the club very many congratulations for 100 years. It's incredible. It sort of got me thinking, you start to feel old at times like this. I was actually the captain at the 75th anniversary. And I remember very bizarrely getting interviewed by Bill Lothian, the great rugby journalist, he came to my flat in just off Pinkie Road, and we ended up with a photograph of me with a pair of rugby boots around my neck. That seemed to be the prop in the 1990s. I don't know, we've moved on a bit since then, but certainly when I think back of the club, I've got really, really great memories. I had not long arrived in the area, not long joined the police, and was made to feel really, really welcome. I loved the standard of rugby, but most of all, I loved the community, and I know that that's still strong down at the club. So here, great to see you all. What a great achievement, 100 years, and all the very best to everybody for the next 100 years.
Musselburgh is and always will be part of me,
and I am extremely proud to say that my son and now my grandsons wear the hoops. Our club badge appears to be known worldwide, and for the right reasons. That is why I am immensely proud to be a member of our club.
Hi everybody, my name's Robert Bain. I was captain of Musselburgh Rugby Club in the 99-2000 season. And this is Stanley. A lot of boys will know Stanley, and he likes a trip down to the rugby club for a pint as well. Drew asked for a couple of highlights. I'm going to give you a couple of lowlights of my season as captain, because they are good ones. Unfortunately, I was a captain to get the club relegated from the second to the third division. And I was also the captain that took the club to Strathendrick in front of the BBC Scotland cameras, where we got put out in the Scottish Cup by a third division national side. Not the best moment as captain. But I must say I loved every minute of being captain of the rugby club. It's a very huge honour, and I still love going down on a Saturday and watching the boys play and supporting the club whenever I can. Hope you have a great night, boys. I'll catch you later, hopefully face to face. Cheers now.
First came to Musselburgh RFC in 1973 when I was immediately given the nickname Sweeney. These troubled times, as we move forward, I'm sure the club will continue to be integral in the community of Musselburgh and East Lothian, and also provide a strong voice in the arena of Scottish rugby. So it's all the best for the club for the next century, and beyond that, I would hope. Good wishes to everybody, to all the members, committees, and all the players. Hope to see you all at Stony Hill soon.
Hello, George Cringen here. I was honoured to be the past captain of Musselburgh Rugby Club in the season 2000, 2001 and 2004-2005. From the very first training session through to my last game, I've thoroughly enjoyed every moment of being part of the club. The Musselburgh Rugby Club to me is all about the people who work hard behind the scenes to keep the club moving in the right direction, the faithful supporters, always willing to give you that friendly advice after the game, and most of all the players training hard, playing hard and enjoying the great social side of the club. And for me, Musselburgh Club is certainly, they did know how to have a good social time. One of the highlights for me was our tour to Canada. It was good rugby, many laughs, but best of all was the bonding of players that can never be broken. Sorry I couldn't join you tonight. I look forward to when we can all get together again, share some stories, watch the Burgh whilst having a beer or two. I hope everyone stays healthy. Musselburgh Club, I wish you all the success for the future, on and off the park. Schlans.
Good evening, I'm Alistair Bonfron. I was the club captain between 2001 and 2002 season. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Musselburgh Rugby Club on reaching its 100th anniversary. When I was captain, I was fortunate to have a great number of players around me, and one of the best things I can always remember was the support from all the people in the club at that time. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all the very best and have a good evening tonight. Thank you.
Hi, Graham Jameson. I captained the club for 2 seasons between 2002 and 2004 and was lucky enough to follow in the footsteps of my granda Jimmy Jameson, who captained 1944 to 1946. Many happy returns to the club on the special occasion of our 100th birthday. Here's hoping we can get together at some point in 2021 to celebrate. One of my most memorable games and occasions at the club was the 75th anniversary match versus Hoyok. Fingers crossed we can replicate such an event this year.
Hi, I'm Bob Nelson. I was president of the club from 2004 to 2006. The club is an integral part to the sporting facilities within the Musselburgh community and should be kept that way. We're a club that embraces the SRU values and delivers them on a local basis. Long may this continue. Finally, I'm proud to be part of Musselburgh Rugby Club, one if not the best clubs in Scotland. All the best for the centenary and happy birthday Musselburgh.
Hi everyone, I'm Ian Archibald. I was captain of Musselburgh Rugby Football Club for the 2005-2006 season. I played for Musselburgh for about 15 years by this point, so to have finally been asked to be captain was an unexpected privilege. Season wise, I got injured in pre-season, broke a finger, couldn't play for 6 months, but eventually I made a comeback and played the last few league games and helped the club avoid relegation by staying in Premiership 3. So for me that was still a great achievement. So it's an honour to be asked to be part of this centenary celebration, so I'd just like to say happy 100th birthday to MRFC, and we can all enjoy the online dinner, but get together as soon as possible to celebrate the centenary properly. So have a good night guys, all the best, see you soon, thanks.
It doesn't seem like nearly 50 years ago since Duncan McMillan suggested that I take a trip up to Stony Hill and have a shot at the game of rugby, and there I was, and I met the icon that was Ramsay Smith, who tried to teach me the ins and outs of being a scrum half. Afterwards in the club, a lime and lemonade, speaking to all the huge rugby players. Gordon McClanagan looked about 12 feet 6 at that time, and then over came the luminary that was the president. Ramsay Smith introduced me to that wonderful Chris Barclay Smith, and from then on things just gathered pace. Up to Forsyth for my strip, 1495. Games played every Saturday, 5:15s going out, and then it ended up with the Colts in 1975, 74-75. And from that, long-lasting friendships that last till today. For those whose names don't appear on the boards, the people who helped out in the club, the people who helped out with the minis, the people who helped out with serving teas after matches, those are the spirit of Musselburgh Rugby Club, and thank you for everything you've done.
Hello everyone, Fraser Sutherland here. I captained the club between the years of 2006 and 2007. I was fortunate to have a number of great people around me on and off the pitch, with Mark Steedman and Craig McGeary coaching the club.
Here, I joined the club in the mid-70s. I had the great honour of being president 2007 to 2009. Highlights of the presidency: us winning our sevens both years, beating Jed Forest and Kelso in a league match for the first time ever, the under-18s making the Youth Cup final, the under-16s going on the following year to become Scottish champions. Made a lot of lifelong friends and have great memories of the club, and it's brilliant to be able to help them celebrate their centenary and onwards and upwards for the next 100 years. Thanks.
And enjoying it. I was made captain. Fraser only did the 1 year as captain, so I ended up being captain the next again here, and we managed to retain our status in National Division 2, which, given the squad turnaround that we had from getting promoted the season before, I thought was a particularly good achievement, and I'll forever thank Fraser Sutherland for scoring the try that wasn't a try through at Hamilton that let us win that game.
It's Greg Leach, some of you might know him as Leachy or Leggy. I was captain between 2008 to 2010. It was a great honour for me to be captain in Musselburgh. I've been playing since I was 4-year-old at the club. I think that my maths takes me back to 1990, I think I first ran out on a Stony Hill. But so, as you can imagine, it was a great honour for me to be part of such a historic history, and congratulate them on reaching their 100th anniversary. Cheers. And I look forward to getting back onto the hill to cheer the boys on and see the rugby family again. Thank you.
Hi there, Andrew Clark, past Musselburgh rugby captain. My captaincy was a fairly short captaincy, which ended up me going on sabbatical for a few years to a local club. Apart from that, I had some great times at Musselburgh Rugby Club. My favourite time was when I just came to the Colts and I was trying to get to the first, and I got to play with club legends like Cliff Livingston, Sandy McCall, John Hawkins and Alderness Clark. I just wish Musselburgh Rugby Club all the best for the next 100 years. And I'd like to raise a wee glass to my old mate Craig McGeary as well. Cheers folks.
Following relegation in 2011, much as Chris Barclay Smith did 35 years previously, President Colin Scott met with a group of influential members to formulate a strategy to restore natural order.
Good evening, it's Colin Scott here. I've been a member of Musselburgh Rugby Club for 45 years now. During that time I've been a player, I've been in the coaching staff, committee member. Then from 2009 to 2013 I've had the privilege of being president of the club, and currently I'm an honorary president of the club. I can still remember my very first game for Musselburgh. It was at Pinkie Playing Fields. It was in April 1976. It was against Trinity Accies. I was playing at scrum half during the game, and I was getting some unwanted attention from one of the back row players, especially at lineouts. So the referee warned the number 7 for throwing a punch at me. The second half he done exactly the same again. So the referee had no option but to send them off. So after the game in the clubhouse, the Trinity player came up to me and said, "Colin, you could at least have told me that the referee was your dad." So a true story, my dad was the referee in the very first game I played for Musselburgh. Footnote to the game, we actually won the game as well. No surprise there. Musselburgh is a great club to be a part of, and I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate the club on its centenary. And let's all look forward to the future where we can be back together again and celebrate in style.
James Doig was appointed captain in 2011.
Seniors and became sort of early 20s to mid 20s, the club started to struggle, and we were basically lacking in confidence and lacking in discipline, really. We were fit enough and good enough, and we just didn't execute well. And as confidence goes and losses continue to mount up, it becomes hard to get that next win. And we really lost our way towards the end of the 2000s. The noughties were not great. And we got relegated into Division 4, which was called National 1 at the time, the 4th tier of Scottish rugby. And we were ending up having to travel to places most of us hadn't been at first 15 level, places like Garnock. Our first game that season was away to Linlithgow. We narrowly won, and it's no disrespect to these teams, but we had players and a team capable of much better. But for several reasons, we just weren't performing. And that's the biggest challenge I had, was to try and turn things around. And one of the ways we did that was just by having a good nucleus of Musselburgh players who could be trusted and were desperate to do the same as me and get the club out of the hole we'd kind of got ourselves into. We became more disciplined in terms of our approach to play, and we continued the good social side.
Well, there's a relegation in there, to what we'd class as Division 4. We managed to bounce straight back up to go back into National 2, it would have been at the time. That year as well, we got to the Shield final, which was a massive high, but then also had the low point of actually losing that final to Dunfermline.
In subsequent seasons, we narrowly missed out on promotion. We were the bridesmaids, and that continued in one of my highlights as captain, which was getting to the Shield final. It was a day out the club just badly needed. We had the breakfast in the morning. I've never seen the club quite so busy and buzzing, even in recent times when we have managed to secure promotion to the Premiership. It was just a really good feeling around, and we really managed to create a real day out for everybody. Unfortunately, we didn't deliver on the pitch. I think maybe the occasion got the better of us, but we still celebrated like we'd won when we came home, and that was all down to Neil Hogg, who rounded up the troops, and in the Bill Hogg room we sung our hearts out despite the disappointment. It was a real memorable day. Shame we didn't win, but it's still a memorable day.
I've had many a memorable occasion. One of them would be run out to Murrayfield against Dunfermline. Great time for the players, coaches, club and spectators.
With Grant Tallock in charge of coaching and Martin Gill as president, the hard work was paying off. A respectable third place position in 2014 was followed by even greater success in 2015.
2015, will forever live with me as coach of the club, when we had it looked like we were dead and buried and not going to get promoted. when we lost through at Falkirk early January, and we went on a crazy run and got 5 points from every other game in 2015. A few other results went our way over the course of the second half of the season, and it culminated in us playing Howe Fife out at Stony Hill in a winners take all.
On the 28th of March 2015, Musselburgh played against Howe Fife in another all or nothing clash. 5 points was necessary to win the title and promotion back to the second division.
Good crowd down at Stony Hill, all ready to go against our friends from Howe Fife.
Oh. Yes! Go on, Tomo! Go on, Tomo! Come on, Tomo!
Great
tackle!
Yes! Well, it was a poor start, 12-0 down. Slight concern, I have to say, at that point. But my recollection was the pack dominated from that point on, and the packs then took over.
Hey, just walk it, just walk it, keep it going, brother. Yes! This way, yeah. One more. Go on.
Done, Reggie.
Yes!
Come on, forwards, get there! Get there! Hold them, boys.
Yes! Yes! All over the fucking thing. Use it, what are you?
Keep a hold of it!
Good.
Yes!
Good!
Yes! Yes! Go on the bottom!
Yes! Yes! Champions!
And it was a good 32-20 win.
Hi, Graham Bowman, captain of Musselburgh 2014-2015, in which year we managed to win the National 2 title. Highlight of that season for me would have been playing Howe Fife at home in the last game of the season. We went 12-0 down, came back and won 32-20, and had a great night in the club after.
Right, can you leave it?
Well done, boys.
Hi, Keith Buchan here, past president of Musselburgh Rugby Club, season 2015 to 2017. I came down to Musselburgh from Portobello when I was 22 to meet up with my good friend Jimmy Andy's side, which was some 42 years ago. I've held several positions within the rugby club, but two that spring to mind that I really enjoyed and had a great times with is when I was the mini convener, and for the Millennium 2000 we took 150 kids over to Dublin, the mini and the midi, to go on tour and that, which was fantastic, great times. And also I was vice president. I became the project manager for the refurbishment of the clubhouse, which was great. And now coming along on board with the new gym and changing rooms and that, we're going to have a first class facility at Stony Hill, which I think will be absolutely brilliant.
I've been a member of Musselburgh Rugby Club ever since the minis. I believe I joined in primary 6, and I've been lucky enough to play at the club my whole entire life, and all the way through make it to the first 15, and had the honour of captaining it. All I can say about the club is absolutely tremendous club, great people, great bunch of friends. It's been a massive part of my life for so long now. Here's to the next 100 years. Thanks very much. All the best.
2018-19 saw the emergence of the Super Six.
You know, training on a Tuesday, Thursday, and then having an hour and a half game on a Saturday, and then having a few beers, which is the vast majority of rugby people in Scotland want. That's all they want. You know, the top end of the game is only for a couple of hundred people. That's all that's there. We've got 2 pro teams, that's it. So, you know, and the Super Six will, hopefully, the Super Six are starting in July, at the end of July, and it's going to go through until end of October. And that's going to be the link. There's going to be A games involved as well. So we're trying to get that link between the Super Six and the pro teams. And also the Super Six have as part of their role is to develop a relationship with the Premiership and the national clubs as well. So, and there's only 6 teams at the moment. So will that expand? But again, we're trying to find a way to develop our young players. That's really important. We haven't got like Italy, France, France, Ireland, England, obviously, and Wales. They all have semi-pro leagues, and they all have. And whether we like it or not, players want to get paid for. This is the way of the world now. You don't get very few people that play rugby for nothing to think they're pretty good. So we've got to deal with that, and it's such a small playing pool that lads that aren't very good think they are.
As 6 clubs from the existing Premiership were to join this new league, it meant that 6 clubs from National 1 had the chance for promotion.
Part of the talk that we had with the players at the early stages was, what are our goals as a club and what are our goals as a team when we talk about the first 15. And it was to progress, and it was to get better, and it was to have that opportunity to play at the higher level, and we all agreed on that.
As the season progressed, it became evident that the last spot would be contested by Musselburgh or Gala. With Gala playing against the league leaders Mar, Burgh entered their final game against Jed Forest, knowing that a bonus point would likely be enough to secure promotion. Unfortunately, the game had to be rearranged to the end of the season, which caused some concern within the Musselburgh ranks.
My best moment as captain was accidentally booking my stag do on the rearranged last fixture of the season against Jed at home. From this game we only needed a point to get promotion to the Premiership, and I decided to take 12 first 15 players away for a boozy weekend in Albufeira.
Roll away! Play on!
Fortunately for me, the boys that were here managed to get the point we needed and get us promotion to the Premiership.
Unfortunately for promotion to the Premiership, I wasn't here. I was on my brother's stag do in Portugal back in 2001. We did celebrate.
The bonus point against Jed and results elsewhere saw Musselburgh secure promotion to the Premiership for the first time in 33 years.
It wasn't just 20 guys that got us promotion there. It was 40, 45 guys that got us the promotion. It was very much was a squad effort in terms of that. And that's one of the good things about it. Everybody had a part to play within that season.
And of course, who can forget the last game of the 2018-19 season at Stonyhill against Jed Forest, where gaining a try bonus point gave us promotion to the Premiership for the first time in 30 years. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Musselburgh Rugby Club on reaching 100 years and look forward to celebrating the centenary year with all our members, supporters and players and the wider rugby family.
Having returned to the Premiership, the club's initial aim was to stabilise its position.
Actually, we got that first win at Glasgow Hawks away in good style as well. Back to our kind of, if you like, our roots of the previous season, how we played, possession-based game, playing wide, but also being able to play through the middle, playing some really attractive rugby and fast-paced rugby, and finishing teams off. And that got us a bit of a confidence boost to go on and then start to compete.
My favourite moment as club captain would have been re-securing our Premiership status as being the first team to do it in a long time. In particular, the game against GHA away in the freezing cold, ice and rain, and getting a hard-fought win.
Hit the nail on the head by saying we need to just roll our sleeves up and work hard. And that's what the guys did. You know, they ground out wins, you know, at GHA, and the draw with Selkirk, and then, you know, the win at Jed or against Jed, and then that all but winning against Curry in the final game of the season. You know, and those 4 games showed to me, and hopefully showed to the players, that they very much are a Premiership team able to compete at that level.
In the end, the season was cancelled due to the outbreak of COVID-19, and rugby has been halted ever since.
Obviously this year has been quite disappointing. Not to get a game at all and just to be named captain and then not get anything is quite disappointing, but we've got loads to look forward to. Another year, well, hopefully many years in the Premiership. We've got the gym coming up as well, which is brilliant news for the club. Just starting construction very soon, so really looking forward to that. Just really looking forward to getting back on the pitch.
We have reached the end of our 100-year journey. The club is in a fantastic position to meet the challenges ahead, and hopefully there will be a return to rugby in season 2021-2022. Prior to formally concluding this event, here are a few messages from our members and friends.
I am very proud to have played a part, or a very small part anyway, in Musselburgh's 100-year history. I joined the club in 1976 when Paul Charlton took me up there, and I loved the rugby right from the start, and went and played with the Colts, which I loved playing under Sandy Brown, Bobby Wilson, Kenny McMillan and Alec Kick-It Baxter. All the best, boys. Stick in. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Janet Scott and I am now in my 3rd year as a secretary of the club. I've been around the club since the 1980s after I met Colin, and as you can see from these photos, we enjoyed our Halloween nights as much as everyone does nowadays, although I would have to admit that the outfits now are probably a little bit more creative than ours were. So congratulations Musselburgh on your centenary year, and every best wish for the future. Cheers.
I am Jill Irving and I've been treasurer at Musselburgh Rugby Club since 2016. As one or two of you may know, I'm a massive rugby fan and I've followed Musselburgh since school days. While being treasurer is often more time and effort than a real job, it's never begrudged and I do always feel proud to represent the club. While we've faced a few challenges, we're lucky to have the support of a faithful membership, many talented players, loyal and generous sponsors and a dedicated board who have all contributed to where the club stands at this time of our centenary. So cheers, happy centenary and happy birthday Musselburgh Rugby Club.
G'day guys, Paul McDonald here from Musselburgh. I played for you guys in 2002, 3 and 4, nearly 20 years ago. This is my family, it's my wife Risa, my oldest daughter Monica, Karen, Taylor and Leon. G'day. Hey, thanks for asking me to make a video for this day. 100 years, what a great club. Got lots of fond memories.
Happy birthday Musselburgh Rugby Club from Fraser McMillan here in Melbourne. Many congratulations to Drew, the committee, players and all the members on a great achievement.
Good evening, I'm Colin Beattie and I'm your local MSP, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity tonight just to say a few words in support of the club's centenary celebrations. Now, I realise it's strange times we're in and these celebrations are being done on a virtual basis, and you know, we could all wish that we were able to get together around the bar, have a beer, have a glass of wine, whatever, but that's not going to be the case on Saturday night. I'd just like to say 100 years, so much has happened over that 100 years. especially the past year, which has been very strange indeed with COVID-19. And it's fantastic to see the club, despite all the lockdowns and difficulties they've been having in past months, still bursting with ideas, bursting with energy as to where they're going in the future and what they're going to be doing, expansion plans with the new gym and so forth. And that's really fantastic. It's good for the club, good for the membership, good for the community. And Musselburgh Rugby Football Club is embedded into the local community. There's no doubt about that. I'm looking forward to the next 100 years, perhaps not personally, but I think the club will go from strength to strength, and I truly wish it well. And on Saturday night, I'll be raising a virtual glass to the centenary.
On behalf of the Preston Lads Rugby Club, I would like to thank President Drew Johnston, committee and members of Musselburgh Rugby Club on their 100th year anniversary.
Hi, I'm Keith Wallace, President of Harrington, and I just wanted to say from everyone at Neilson Park, happy birthday and fantastic news. Congratulations on your centenary.
Congratulations Musselburgh on your centenary year. We at Worsley wish you continued success on and off the field. It was great seeing the new plans to continue improving your facilities.
Hi there, happy centenary Musselburgh, what a great achievement. Just wanted to say all the best, happy birthday from everyone at North Berwick Rugby Football Club.
Yeah, definitely one of the favourite clubs of mine, certainly, and not because I was born and brought up in Trinent, but just really, really happy memories.
Yeah, I'll second that. Yeah, great memories of having very rarely beat Musselburgh. To be honest, I'm not sure I can actually recollect one now. Always struggled against them, always a really stuffy game. But yeah, wish you all the best for your anniversary and look forward to actually being there in person at Stonyhill at some time.
Congratulations, Musselburgh, on your centenary. It's a delight to see you in the top division, and Scottish rugby really need strong community clubs like you.
Good evening, Musselburgh Rugby Club. This is Bobby Sin, President Edinburgh Accies here. Congratulations on your 100th birthday. Hope you have a great night. All the best.
Good evening, my name's Paul Cranston. I'm the President at Jed Forest Rugby Club, and on behalf of Jed, we'd like to wish you a very happy birthday.
Just a big congratulations to Musselburgh Rugby Club, everybody involved through there, from everybody in Selkirk.
First of all, congratulations to the club in reaching its centenary year. I hope a lot of you can enjoy the celebration night as much as possible in what is obviously really weird times for us all.
And to congratulate Musselburgh RFC on reaching this great milestone in the club's history.
Musselburgh, Stuart Hogg here. Congrats on your centenary. I hope you guys have an amazing night and all the very best. Cheers.
I hope you have a great night. I'd like to wish the club all the best. I'm sure you will survive another 100 years at least, and I look forward to visiting the club, meeting up with some of the old acquaintances.
Hi, David Drummond here at Scottish Rugby. Just a short note to everyone at Musselburgh Rugby Club to say congratulations on your 100th birthday. An amazing achievement, and great to see that you're still celebrating your centenary year despite the restrictions we're all living under just now. I've only been with Scottish Rugby a couple of years, but it's always been clear to me to see everyone, what great leaders you have at the club who are really driving things forward behind the scenes from your minis and your youths into your adult section. You must be one of only a few clubs across Scotland who are able to put out 3 adult male teams coming the weekend, often collaborating with other clubs across East Lothian. But I think that speaks volumes of the type of people at the club that you're able to work with others to ensure that anyone wants to play the game gets the chance to do so. Congratulations to everything you've achieved so far, and on behalf of all my colleagues at Scottish Rugby, here's to the next 100 years at Stonyhill. Take care.
Good evening, everyone. I've been asked to say a few nice words about Musselburgh during your celebration this evening. I would like to say on behalf of the referees who refereed you all in my era during the 80s, it was always a privilege to come down there, particularly for the sevens and particularly for the hospitality before, during and after in that little caravan at the side of the pitch.
And my experience coming to Musselburgh, I promise you this one thing, right? I promise you this one thing, and
and boys, it was a really positive experience. I came away thinking, wow, that's my world. That's where I'm most comfortable, with real people. That's the important, real people.
Hi everyone, it's Ian McGeechan here. I'd just like to congratulate Musselburgh on reaching their centenary. 100 years of rugby is a great achievement, and also say well done on the new fundraising, which I understand is going to get you a new gym and new changing rooms, and augurs well for the second century. So try and have a good celebration, and I'm sure there'll be some of that centenary beer and gin going around and being passed around. But well done, congratulations. It's great for rugby in Scotland, and I wish everyone a very good centenary year. All the best.
This is Jim Telfer. I would just like to congratulate Musselburgh Rugby Club on reaching the centenary. And I hope, even in adverse circumstances, that some virtual celebrations have been possible.
Greetings from Mediterranean Philip Hawke. Happy birthday to you all. Fantastic achievement. I've always thought Musselburgh were very much like a border club. You've got your own identity, you've got your common riding, and you've got a great rugby club.
Congratulations to the men for the honest tune, and I've got my Musselburgh Colts decanter here, and I'm going to have a glass of port right, so cheers to Musselburgh.
Yeah, also best wishes to Musselburgh. Had a lot of games against you. The last time I was down there was Derek Watson's 70th, was it Derek? Maybe his 80th, I'm not sure. And it was around Christmas time. I was wearing some Darth Vader Christmas jumper, got absolutely hammered with Derek and some of his cronies in Kenny Mill, and we ended up in some bar in Broughton Street. So, yeah, look forward to seeing you all at the end of the year then.
And from my end, Musselburgh, 100 years is a phenomenal achievement. So congratulations from all the rugby community. Musselburgh's a great club to come to. Yeah, it's such a good social club. You've kept your standard really high. You're still up there in the Premiership playing good rugby.
Some great players over the years too, and fantastic that's 100 years now for the club. I wish you many more successful years, and here's to the next 100 for you. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I think from both Kenny and myself that all the best. A great achievement for 100 years, but more importantly, our times when we've been involved at Musselburgh, played there, or had players involved at Harriet's. You've got a lot to be proud of, and it's a great club. And all the best for your centenary, and hopefully another 100 years after that.
Hello, I'd just like to congratulate the Musselburgh Rugby Club on 100 years of rugby. What a great contribution you've made to Scottish rugby. I've always had great fun down at Musselburgh, got several good friends, and had many laughs down there. Here's wishing you every success to the future. I hope you have another 100 years of great success, and wish you all the very best.
The first 100 years has been terrific, lads, and you're part of the club and part of the present and the future as well as the past, and here's to the next 100 years as well. Let's just all hope that rugby is being played in 100 years' time, and all the kids are having as much fun as we used to have. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yep. And likewise, I was writing my blog today on my website, scotthastings.co.uk. But I was writing about I played against England 11 times, and it's interesting. I got dropped in 1997, couldn't get back into the game, and I kind of walked away from the game. I had 18 months of playing professional rugby, but you know what? You still go back to your bread and butter, and your bread and butter is your club, and that's why we've all been what's strange. We're all part of Musselburgh, because we've always been part of a club. And I think what is shown through tonight is just the fact is we're able to tell a story, share a story, but also remember the good times of touring with our teammates, and we've become friends through that. So as long as the guys who attend the online event at Musselburgh Rugby Club realise that it's their time to take it on as well, and we have to be, as we've been talking about, we have to be innovative. So good luck, fellas, and have a good night, and we'll see you in November.
Hi there, John Jeffrey, Kelso Rugby Club and Chairman of the Scottish Rugby Union. Just wanting to record a message to wish you all the best for your next 100 years and congratulate you on your 100th birthday. I remember coming up to play Musselburgh for the first time ever as part of the mighty Kelso 15. This wasn't going to be a problem. They only had one player in the Musselburgh team, Donald McDonald, who we toured with Scotland in 1984 to Canada and America. And I remember the coach saying, just one thing you have to do is kick the living daylights out of that little so-and-so Donald, and then that's the only player they've got. Apart from that, it's going to be 50 or 60 points. So we trooped on the bus. I think it was actually a Thursday night game we were playing. Up we went under the lights at Stony Hill. Finding the place was a bit of a problem in the first place. I think it took us about 20-30 minutes once we got to Musselburgh to try and find the place. So we were late for the game. That wouldn't matter because it was only Musselburgh we were playing anyway. So we got onto the pitch and kick-off, ball came over, and one almighty fight developed. There was no way Musselburgh were going to entertain us whitewashing them. They kicked the living daylights out of us. We had a scrap on the pitch. I think we eventually overcame them and won by about 10, 15 points, but not very much. But by God, did we learn that Musselburgh were a team. They most certainly were. But what I will say is, once the game was finished, they were in the club rooms, they bought us pints, we shared, we laughed, we drank, we probably sang songs as well, and we went way back. And I remember going back in the team bus, all aglow, I suppose, with having played 80 minutes hard rugby, but then after that, drunk 2 or 3 pints and had the camaraderie. And it struck me, as I say, on the bus on the way home, was that was what rugby should be about. It was the epitome of what a rugby club should be. Hard on the pitch, hard off the pitch, enjoyment. And I just looked at all the volunteers who had been involved in the development of Musselburgh over the years to move eventually to Stony Hill and develop a team, develop a club rooms, develop a pitch, and just the way they embraced the whole of the community. I think it's a hallmark for a great club, and anybody who wants to do something with a rugby club should take a look at the model at Musselburgh. So on behalf of Kelso Rugby Club, on behalf of the Scottish Rugby Union, and on behalf of me personally, many, many congratulations. I'm really sorry because of this COVID I couldn't be there tonight, because I'd love to come down to a few pints with you all, enjoy it. So well done your last 100 years, and I look forward to coming out to Stony Hill to see you in the next year when rugby starts again. Many congratulations. Have a great night.